I'm Daniel Craven, and since 2001 I've been based at Jersey Zoo working for the Durrell Wildlife Conservation Trust. I'm about to go on an epic journey to discover how a species once thought to be extinct is today making an amazing comeback. It's a journey that will take me 5,000 miles to the remote grasslands of northeast India to learn how a team of conservationists are laying the foundations for the world's smallest pigs to survive on their own 4 feet. Gerald Durrell, the author, naturalist and a pioneer in conservation, was born here in India. It's his influence that's brought me back here to a country I love. The sights, the sounds and the smells are fantastic. There's a billion people with a billion different stories. And some of those stories are underdog stories. People that have come from the towns and villages to big cities like Delhi and Bombay, Varanasi to seek their fortune. But I'm on the trail of a different story. And it's more of an underhog story than an underdog story. I was 11 years old when I first came to India with my family on holiday. And although sometimes sitting here, it can feel like it hasn't changed in 1,000 years, it's changed a lot. In a fast developing world, India is a fast developing country. Populations have grown all over the world and people have needed more resources and more space. At the expense of what? If it's a game of humanity versus nature, then it really seems nature isn't winning. Who is winning? Gerald Durrell wrote, "Sometimes it's the small animals in a country that can influence man more than the large ones." And for the man who spent his life giving a voice to species too small to be heard, I'm wondering where that brave spirit of hope and determination came from. So I'm heading to the city where the Durrells lived before Corfu, where Gerald was born and a place where his father, Lawrence Samuel Durrell, looked to for the challenge and opportunity for the Durrell name to make its mark.
Chai number, chao sir.
Dhanyavad.
Hot
What I love
chai.
about this country.
Hot chai.
Breakfast in bed. That's good chai. Tata Nagar is the name of the station that welcomes people to Jamshedpur, a city that didn't even exist a year before the Durrells got here. At least the name didn't. Before then, it was called Sakchi, and it was beginning to boom and develop from a small village with iron, coal, limestone and water resources into India's first planned industrial city. Both the city and the railway changed its name in honour of Jamshedji Tata. Founder of the famous Tata Group, it was his design that paved the way for the city's success. By 1919, the steel industry had helped boost the economy and its population. In 1920, the Durrells arrived here. Lawrence Samuel Durrell was born in 1884. A third-generation Anglo-Indian, he was educated in India and in 1910 married Louisa Florence Dixie. They had 4 children, Lawrence, Leslie, Margaret and Gerald. The Durrells travelled throughout India while Lawrence worked for the railways. From 1918 to 1920, Lawrence was the chief engineer of the famous Darjeeling Himalayan Railway, and he would have overseen the building of the Basista Loop, one of the most challenging sections of railway in the Himalayas, helping the little toy train climb the final steep ascent to Darjeeling. Soon after that, he formed his own company, Durrell & Co. Engineers and Contractors. I'm going to see Ronnie Da Costa, a local historian and one of the founders of the Durrell Initiative. And where better to meet than the very house that Durrells lived in. These are the steps where Gerald may have sat when he was a young boy.
Absolutely. The year 1914 or 15, it was good enough for families to come. And that's how we had the Durrells here.
Would there have been anybody around that may have influenced Gerald with animals?
And the legend is that he had an uncle who was in the forest and he sent 2 baby bears here to them, which they kept, and the zoos were some people's houses. There were a family that actually kept a tiger at their house, and a lot of the people went.
Okay, so he'd been exposed to these beautiful animals that India has to offer from quite an early age. This is a copy of all the pictures that have helped you find the final pieces of the Durrell jigsaw in Jamshedpur.
When the booklet came, I realized why Gerald was such an amazing man. He came from an amazing family. Lawrence Durrell not only built many of the iconic buildings that are still standing today, but also took on work that others ran away from. If you look at some of the testimonials, you'll find that the general managers say that thanks to Mr. Durrell and company, we were able to complete.
The work Durrell & Co. engineers undertook was impressive, helping build the hospital, offices, bridges and even factories still in use today.
Tin Plate Company of India Limited, built by Durrell, but this shed is that shed. You can see the 3 levels of shades on top. It's identical. It's not only being able to have the talent to be persistent, to complete jobs, but also unafraid of uncertainty. You take a contract to build, but you don't know if you have a thunderstorm which will break down everything that you've made, and you have to start from scratch. And you will not be given a single paise extra. That requires a lot of entrepreneurship. That class of character to go to some place not knowing and unafraid, understanding that there will be challenges and be courageous enough to go where he's needed, to locally solve that problem and to get through. We need more people like him to be able to say, I'm needed, I'm going.
Sitting here thinking about Gerald Durrell's father, the kind of massive tasks he undertook and did it in style. He finished them, he completed them. He had a reputation of making things happen. And he's not the only Durrell to have had a huge impact in India. His son, Gerald Durrell, dedicated his life to preserving species on the edge of extinction. What a noble task. I'm off to join the Durrell team in Gawai as they prepare to release the 100th captive-bred pygmy hog back into the wild. The pygmy hog has long been a favourite animal of mine, and I'm meeting up with Dr. Parag Decker, a Durrell colleague and friend of mine who's been involved with saving the species for the last 20 years. In about 15 minutes or so, hopefully we'll be pulling into the station and I'll be meeting up with Parag. I haven't seen him in a long time, so I'm really looking forward to that. And then tomorrow, into the field. In 1999, Parag completed training at the Durrell Conservation Academy in Jersey, a trip he once told me changed his life. Today, he's one of many heroes of conservation, a real breed apart.
Gerald Durrell came here in Assam looking for pygmy hog in wild and also try to initiate a breeding program. Before Durrell stepped in, there was no organized attempt to really save a species. Gerald Durrell came here to do the same thing in 1978, but he could not find a pygmy hog anywhere. If you read his book, The Anniversary of Ark,
Right, yes.
Yeah, In that book, see, if you see, there is a chapter on the pygmy hog.
Do you have a copy of the book?
I don't have. I don't
Right,
have.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to
I should
get-
buy.
I'm
Actually,
gonna
try
have-
to buy.
I'm gonna have to get you one.
Yeah, I read it when I was at Jersey.
So tomorrow into the field, into Bernardi, and we
And-
start early, finish late.
Yeah.
This is the breeding centre in Guwahati. Hogs are bred here and learn how to be hogs from their mums, their dads and their siblings. It's like a kindergarten for these little guys. And it's the first stage in their conditioning for release back into the wild. She's just behind me there. That's Mummy Hog. She's got some babies. She's wild born. And her hogs have only been born about a week ago. She's really clever. And as soon as she feels I'm here, she freezes to listen. She also ensures there's some cover between her and the hogless and whoever or whatever is watching. Their eyes aren't great, but their hearing makes up for it. They seem so active all the time and use their snouts to look for roots and tubers and insects to eat. Pygmy hogs use nests throughout the year, making a small indentation in the ground and then laying grass over grass. The nests remain dry even during high rainfall. So, when it's raining, they go inside. When it gets too hot, they go inside. When they need to sleep, they go inside. And when they need the toilet, well, the hogs are smart and they go outside. Baby hogs or hoglets will be born and stay the first few days of their life in the nest before venturing outside for the first time with mum. Really exciting for me because I'm just about to step in the enclosure to get up close and personal with a pygmy hog and find out what makes a pygmy hog a pygmy hog.
So she's like a 10 years old female. I'm checking her, you can see. She's okay. See, their tails are quite small. It's not like wild boar.
And her hair feels like a coconut. It's a lot coarser. Is that because of the grasslands or she's just a little bit older?
She's a little bit older, that's why you see the hairs is a bit coarse. Otherwise, the other hairs are very smooth.
It's the first
Yeah.
time I've ever touched a pygmy
Yeah.
hog. She's lovely, isn't she? She's quite strong. I can
Yeah,
see
she's very
that
strong.
she's...
Yeah. Those is, yeah.
So you're checking her up,
Yeah.
making sure that she's fit and healthy. Is she good?
Yeah, she's okay, but she's not breeding anymore. But she's say, 10 years old. They breed up to 7 years, but she's still a part of the population.
She's still one of the team.
Yeah.
Today, Durrell conservationists are standing on the shoulders of pioneers like Gerald Durrell and William Oliver, who conducted the first ever scientific research into the pygmy hog. I'm about to meet some people who know more about pygmy hogs than anyone alive today. How was the species rediscovered?
Well, I can only say what I've heard from others. I believe the Borneo Reserve Forest was burning so that they could clear up the grasslands. And there were several pygmy hogs in those grasslands. And the pygmy hogs apparently escaped. And when they were caught by the tea laborers who were selling them in the local tea market. Here, the role of Gerald Durrell comes in. Gerald Durrell was, in fact, indirectly responsible for rediscovery of the hog because another gentleman called Mr. Tessier Yandel, who was a tea planter from Jersey, was coming to Assam. And he went to Jerry and said, I'm going to Assam, do you want me to look for something? Jerry said, immediately, find me a pygmy hog. He thought that perhaps we have lost the species, but he didn't want to give up. So he wanted somebody competent to look for him. Mr. Tessier Yandel, he was informed that small pigs are being sold, which was caught by the local laborers. He actually went and saw and immediately identified them as pygmy hogs. That's when the captive breeding of the pygmy hog started, way back in 1971. Because by the 1960s, this species was believed to be extinct, but this rediscovery of the species in Borneo was miraculous, the fact that pygmy hogs are still surviving in very small population. Later on, of course, William Oliver came and did a very wide-ranging survey along Nepal Tarai in Bangladesh. William Oliver is the most important factor in conserving pygmy hog today. In 77, he was sent by Gerald Durrell to see if he can do something towards a wild animal. And if they are alive today, it is thanks to William, because he did not give up despite all the hurdles which came in the way.
So I'm interested how you catch a pygmy hog.
The first time it was tried was by William Oliver when he wanted to put on radio harnesses using flying nets, funneling them into a trap. Unfortunately, at the end of a week or so, he drew a big zero, so he couldn't catch any. And these elephant mahouts who were standing there and watching him came and told him that if you want to catch pygmy hogs, this is not the way to catch them. They helped him. All they did was weave a 1 meter high net, 30 to 40 meters long, put them on one side of the area where the pygmy hogs were hiding there, and using about a dozen elephants or so and about 20-30 people, tried to chase the elephants into the net. Despite being a very crude and ordinary method, they ended up catching several pygmy hogs, and William put radio collar on them. So when we went back to Manas in 1996, we wanted 3 midterm pregnant females. It was hard work. First 2 days was complete washout. We were giving up hope, and suddenly we caught our first hog, and that erased our hope. Over the next 3 days, we did manage to capture 11. 5 of them were released back into the wild, and 6 were brought in. So there was an impression created that it was very difficult or almost impossible to breed these hogs. So government gave us permission to only start this program with 6. So we did a slightly clever thing. We consulted the best pig biologists and veterinarians in the world, and they said that catch midterm pregnant females. So we zeroed on to this 20-day period in mid-March when we caught the hogs and hoped that some of the females will be pregnant. And as you know, we hit the jackpot. All the 3 females we caught were pregnant from the wild. So we instantly increased our genetic makeup as soon as they arrived here. When we captured this animal, there were hardly about 400 odd animals in Manas. And today the situation is such that today perhaps less than 200 wild pygmy hogs survives in the original population in Manas and nowhere else in the world.
The hogs that you've been able to breed, how important are they?
They're the only captive hogs in the world. There are 150 plus animals surviving in 3 populations in the wild, plus about 70 hogs in the captive populations, constitute more than 50% of the world population of this species. We have been able to increase the population to save this species, and I firmly believe that if we had not done this at the right time, there was a greater chance of this species going extinct.
This is the market where in 1971 they found some pygmy hogs being sold. This is obviously a market where lots of animals are bought and sold, and that's exactly what was happening to the pygmy hogs. Hogs that found their way here probably weren't going to have a long life, to be honest. Thanks to Gerald Durrell and the men that he inspired to go on the hunt to find pygmy hogs, the ones that were being sold here were rescued in time and went into the first ever captive breeding program for pygmy hogs.
We're leaving the breeding centre to the next phase in the programme, pre-release. It's basically a university for hogs.
Just going to manoeuvre through these cows. So we're heading to Potosali, the pre-release centre, where they keep all the hogs that are getting ready for release. It's the second part of their training. It gives them a little more time to get used to the kind of environment that they're going to have to get used to in the wild. So this is the only place in the world you can see them. They've released 94 hogs successfully into the wild, and each one of those releases has enabled them to learn a little bit more about how to do it better. Being the 100th, it's a milestone event, and lots more people are now taking notice of the work that they're doing, and that's a good thing.
So I'm here at the Potosali pre-release centre where the hogs are being trained for the wild, and I've just stumbled across this painting of Gerald Durrell. He's looking out over this site, he's inspiring the team here. And now I'm going to help Parag and the team in the preparations to translocate the hogs. Tomorrow is graduation day.
Today is their last day. We're taking them from here for release in the wild tomorrow. They will spend 5 months of their life here. And you can see they are healthy, they are growing, they are able to find food in the area. We are giving them 1/4 of the food they are getting in the breeding center. We are happy. And I must tell you, at least few of them are pregnant, and they're surely going to give the babies in wild, and they will be the wild-born babies.
This is like a university and work experience. Oh, he's doing the internship. Yeah. This can be a model for many species. I'm sure if we manage the grass, it's going to help other herbivores, rhinos, elephants, deers, and also pygmy hogs. Our approach is a holistic approach. Our approach is to set the habitat in right way so that it supports diversity, both faunal diversity and also floral diversity. Okay, that's our approach.
So the hogs are in the pre-release area now, which is this big wild area. And tomorrow morning, they're going to fence off that smaller area, and using these, they're going to funnel the hogs into a catch-up area, put them in the crates, and transport them to Bernardi Sanctuary. There we go. Fixed.
There's plenty to eat for just about everything that walks and crawls and slithers along these paths, just like there will be for the hogs once they're released.
The hogs are going to be easier to catch up in there. It's hot though, huh? Hot? Okay, there you go. He's as strong as an ox. These bits of equipment are really important. This is going to tell the team which hog is going where. Each of these little ear tags fit onto the hogs, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to find out loads more information about the hogs, where they go, what they do, how far they go.
So we're just getting the bedding ready for the transport crates, and this is going to help the hogs feel a little more at home under the stressful conditions they're going to have for transport. So that's going to hopefully make them feel a little less stressed. They're being moved now to the area where we're going to be catching them up, so we get all these jobs out the way, so in the morning we can get straight to work. Okay, last one, and the next time we move these, there's going to be some hogs in them.
So this is a huge day for the world's smallest pigs.
It's really early in the morning. It's probably just after 5, and we're at the pre-release site. The hogs are needing to be corralled into this smaller enclosure area where we know they're not going to escape from. We don't want any disturbance. We don't want them to suss that things are different today.
We've been waiting since about 5 o'clock in the morning, and all the crew has been here earlier than the hogs have been here. We had a little bit of a wait, but now it's all going ahead. There are 8 hogs in this enclosure, and we need 6, but it's got to be the right 6. These guys really know what they're doing. 1 down, 5 to go.
He's just checking his health right now. So far, very good, yes. The big male has been captured, who was the last one to come into the corral. And we have just put in the radio tags onto this male. And Parag is right now injecting stress nil, the azapiron, which will calm him down for the next 3-4 hours.
Each hog that's caught up is weighed so we can get the injection just right, and it's going to be sedated for a time that's going to allow them to travel without any stress.
The domestic farrowing pigs are extremely aggressive. To calm them down, They had designed this wonderful thing which doesn't knock them down, that makes them easy to handle so she doesn't bite and attack people who come near to help the litter.
So this is perfect for this occasion.
Absolutely perfect. But then this, we realized later, works on most of the ungulates. So from us, people who work with rhinos, work with deer, have learned and they've started using the same drug. We were the pioneers in using this in India. A wonderful drug designed specially for pigs.
It's really exciting because we're down to the last few hogs and the team has just got in there to shunt them into the corral, and we've got the last two that we're going to catch up, inject, and then we're off. He makes it look so easy. I can assure you it's anything but. Although Parag is injecting the hogs with an anti-parasitic, in the long term, the team are actually saving another endangered species. It's a harmless louse named Hematopinis olivi, after the late William Oliver.
We're talking about a lice which is there on the pygmy hog, which is a critically endangered louse because it's found only on pygmy hog. And I was just telling that we have this dilemma. Kill the louse with antiparasitic or let it live another critically endangered species. It's 2 in 1.
Once they're in the wild, the lice will thrive.
It's a trauma for them to be restrained. And we don't unnecessarily catch our animals unless we absolutely need to do something with them.
These guys have been left alone for 5 months or so,
5.5 months now. They're like wild animals.
How did you feel when the 6th hog that came out was the 6th hog that we were looking for?
Oh, I'm very happy. Less stress for them, also for me.
All the hogs have been injected. They're all in the crates. We're going to give them 15 minutes just to calm down before we're going to roll out of here and head to Bernardi, where they're going to be released back into the wild. We've got a long journey. It could be up to 6 hours on the road. We've got to drive slow. There's loads of honking and horns and stuff that's just India. That's the road. So getting them there in the same condition as they left here is going to be really important for us. But this is the team to do it. We're well underway. We've just stopped here. We're going to check the hogs. This is the nature of India. This is the nature of transporting animals along any road along here. And I'm looking over there at Parag. He seems really happy as well. I reckon we've got another 2 or 3 hours to go. We've gone through rivers, through markets, but everything's good. Journey's gone well. We're going to release the hogs into the core area of Bernardi where there's a pen waiting for them. They're going to get used to their surroundings for a few days and then freedom. Pygmy hogs used to range across the Himalayan foothills of 3 countries, and Bhutan is one of them. This is Manas National Park, where the last truly wild population of pygmy hogs can be found. It's a population that's declining, and I'm going to go and see the grasslands where they're to be found, still surviving today. To see any pygmy hogs in the wild here is incredibly difficult. Parag, who's been working in this area for 20 years, has never seen one. I guess it comes down to a bit of luck. There's definitely predators here that the pygmy hog has got to look out for. There's tigers, there's also panthers. These big herbivores share their environment with the pygmy hog and help the grasslands, eating up tree saplings that are setting in. If you've got these big herbivores like the rhino and the elephant working to do that, then nature's doing the work for you, and it's so much nicer to see them doing it than us doing it. So this is pygmy hog habitat, this grassland, and it was actually here that they captured some of the hogs that have gone in to help the breeding program, and descendants of those hogs have gone into different national parks supporting the population. This beautiful spot is Kudaville, and I'm sat in the guard station overlooking the grassland habitat that supports the last truly wild population of pygmy hogs in the world. You can't see a pygmy hog, to be honest. It's like spotting a needle in a haystack. But what I can see are trees, and these trees are gradually encroaching on this grassland habitat, and that makes it more difficult to manage because it brings in weeds and invasive species that really don't suit the hogs and don't suit a whole host of other species the hog shares its habitat with.
All we have these small pockets left of this habitat, and these grasslands were extremely important for the diversity of this entire area. They are the real jungles. You had rhinoceros, you have tigers, you had elephants, you had wild buffaloes, you had huge number of species. One of the most valuable habitat in these ecosystems in the South Himalayan plains. Pygmy hog grasslands, they are open grasslands with very few trees in them. And today, if new grasslands appear outside protected areas, they're quickly taken over by this bulging human population. The current grasslands, as I have just said, are basically sort of islands, completely surrounded by human population, thick forests. And one of the biggest challenges today are the simple ones, because the livestock grazing, unsustainable dry season burning, and of course, collection of thatch and some amount of trapping are the real threats to these wild grasslands and their wildlife.
It's a jungle out there, but beyond that, there's grasslands that are being restored. And there's a tremendous amount of work that's gone into making these grasslands suitable habitat for the pygmy hog. Parag showed me one area where the team had been clearing invasive plant species in the pygmy hog grasslands. This plant that's spoiling this grassland habitat.
We have removed by hand using...
It's tough work. I've just been watching the guys do it.
Cutting is not good. So we have to remove it manually and open that whole area. And we hope that the grass will grow high up to a meter up in 1.5 months.
Good news is, it's working. This habitat is going to be suitable for the pygmy hogs, and hopefully many more little hogs after that. Before the release, I wanted to learn a little more about how local communities and tourism impact on wildlife and how conservationists are working to create a balance between people and animals. So, we are in Sarang, which is a little village here, and these guys are all part of the community. Sarang district, yes. Sirang. Okay. And it's a gentle area, it's a lovely area. After a pronunciation lesson from the locals, I attended a village meeting with Nandita Hazaranka, one of Durrell's partners, to learn more about what they thought of the pygmy hog and the challenges they face living close to wildlife. We were talking a little bit about the grasslands to the villagers. When you posed the question to them what they thought of the pygmy hog, you could see there was a sadness in their eyes that the population was declining.
I think they care for all animals. They even care for an animal as insignificant as, just a pig. So I think it's very heartening to see that despite the problem, they empathize small pig. And they see a value in supporting and crusading for a cause. Community is very important, very critical factor in conserving wildlife. People do realize what the benefits are, and as much as possible, they're quite tolerant when their livelihoods are threatened. On one hand, we are dealing with animals and species which create conflict situations, and on the other hand, we as conservationists are trying to protect them. So to bridge that gap is a difficult task. You have to admit the factor of population is a reality. People are beginning to learn how to live with wildlife. If you want to get people's cooperation in conserving the species, you need to give them some incentives. We try to help them economically. So when there is a conflict situation, for example here, there's a problem of human-elephant conflict. People lose their crop, they lose property, they lose even lives, and they are injured. So we try to build the capacity of the people, gain certain skills. So the idea is to alleviate the status from a subsistence level to an entrepreneurship or an enterprise level.
I'm interested in how tourism can help wildlife.
We try and create local employment. The moment a lodge comes up and there is a place which is being protected, If tourists are allowed inside, you have other industries which come up. Most of the population over here, directly or indirectly, they have a personal interest in the sustenance and survival of the park. It's not a zoo. What we all discovered long ago, if the tiger is thriving, it means the tiger's food is thriving, which means that buffalo, deer, wild boar, everything else has enough to eat. It turns a full cycle. If he's doing well, so is everybody else.
So just in behind me are the hills of Bhutan and a tree line that represents the Bernardi Wildlife Sanctuary. Somewhere in between are pygmy hogs.
The release site is literally on the Indian and Bhutan border. It's a truly remote and fantastic place to be.
I plan to take you to here. This is Bhutan, okay?
So we're going to go up here.
Yeah. The hogs are now going back to their own land, and we are working for this only. It's a really proud moment, actually. Hopefully, we'll be able to say after a few years that they have established the habitat. We'll be working for next 5 years, okay? So we are driving to a release site, which is 5 kilometers from the range office. The protocol is to keep the hogs in a small release enclosure. We want them to build a small nest. We're going to release them after 3 nights. We put camera traps so that we can keep monitoring them and try to understand how they are spending their time with this habitat.
This is the last one, and I just want to keep the box as level as possible so as not to stress him. It's not really heavy, the box, but you've just got to be careful of the way, the track, because I don't want to trip over. Okay. Here, the pin. Okay. We got him. All these people are really excited because it's the first time some of them have seen a pygmy hog. It's great to have this lot on board. The community here, they're going to work hard as well to protect this habitat along with the pygmy hog team. The hogs have come out their crates. Parag is going to stay the night up in this observation tower where he can look over this whole scene. He's listening out now to the transmitters to make sure that they're all working, because the next day or two will be the last chance that he's going to have before they're out. It's going to be really tough to catch him up after that.
You are protecting the animals, and they are in a small enclosures. You don't know if anything can happen to them at night. Some predators may come and elephants may come because they are in a small enclosure, and if something happens, they cannot escape. While they are in a small area, their security and safety is in our hands.
I'm going to be here first thing in the morning to see how the hogs spent their night. The next stage will be releasing them.
Well, after 3 quiet nights on the border of Bhutan, today is the day. Officials and press will arrive for the release, so I'm joining Parag to do the final checks.
It's mad that somebody born in Jamshedpur in 1925 has started a chain of events that's led me to stand in this restored grassland.
This program was started with just 6 hogs collected from the last population of this species on Earth in Manas, and I'm very happy that today Mr. Rava has himself come to release the 100th pygmy hog under this program.
Conservation is boundaryless, beyond boundaries, so let them free, wild, back to wild.
This is it, freedom is just beyond this gate here. They've built nests, and that shows they've accepted the land. That's the 100th pygmy hog release. It's wonderful to see them out. The work, of course, hasn't finished for these guys.
So 100 is a number. That's make interest the public, but for people like us, conservationists,
Our main goal is to establish a viable population. So we'll be working here for next 5 years and releasing more hogs.
You must have always dreamed that you'd be getting to these kind of numbers.
There were so many hurdles, but we stuck on, and that was the legacy of Durrell, and that's the legacy of William Oliver, who taught us how to do it. While 100th pygmy hog is a good milestone, it's populations which matter. So it's only number 3 for us, and we want to go 100 there. Thanks everything to Durrell, because that's where it all started. Not only 30, 40 years back, but when Durrell was born. I think the seed was laid then.
Gerald Durrell said that the world is as delicate and as complicated as a spider's web. We're not just touching it, we're tearing great holes in it. And seeing these hogs run free, it feels like just by one thread, we're slowly fixing that spider's web.
You're watching over these guys now. You're here on hand. I mean, these are animals you love.
This is a place where pygmy hog was rediscovered, and William Oliver came and started his study on pygmy hog here in 1977. I miss William Oliver. You see, a man from England, a young boy from England, he came here, but he was alone. He caught 2 pygmy hogs here. Can you believe that?
Incredible.
We are sitting on the masan and releasing hog back in the wild. This is because of him.
Everywhere I look in your office, there's a picture of Gerald Durrell.
Yeah, he really a motivator kind of people. Not only me and many other people, but I had the opportunity to work for him, for his philosophy. So I'm lucky.
Made the most of it as well. Look at this.
One of the challenges of releasing hogs back into the wild is monitoring their progress after they've gone. And, well, it's a needle in a haystack, it's really tough. The hogs are small, the grass is long, the space is big, so I'm really happy just to have got this text message from Parag, who's told me after 10 days, the hogs are doing really well. All 4 that have radio transmitters are sending out signals. They've spotted all 6 through the camera traps in the baiting stations, and the female that's pregnant is wandered off on her own, which is perfectly natural, and she'll be nesting to give birth in a little while.
I'm leaving Assam in the northeast, and I'm going home after spending an amazing time here. I've been on the trail of the underhog, and what I've found, if I didn't know it before, the Durrells are an amazing family. Gerald Durrell and his ongoing legacy through Jersey Zoo and the Durrell Wildlife Conservation Trust in particular has inspired me to contribute even more to saving species from extinction. If you've got passion and you want to contribute, becoming a member of Durrell Wildlife is one way where supporting the underdog and underhog species is really impacting on the ground. If you can and if you care, please get involved.